In times like these, we all need a word of encouragement. From pastor and best-selling author Max Lucado comes the Max Lucado Encouraging Word podcast. With over 40 years of ministry and more than 145 million books sold in 50 languages, Max shares the greatest story ever told, the living Savior who brings hope for a lifetime. Through rich biblical insight, heartfelt storytelling, you'll be reminded that God is always near, always for you, and always in you. Listen to the Max Lucado Encouraging Word podcast, where hope meets your day. Subscribe now wherever you get your podcasts.
One of these men is a highly respected New York attorney, Lucas A. Ferrara. The other is a self-proclaimed man of the people, known as Mert Roberts. Their aim is to discuss the hottest issues impacting our city, state, and nation. Fasten your seatbelts. Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas, live, starts now on AM 970. The Answer.
Interesting beat. What's that song called, Alex?
Let the Games Begin by Cy Chronic.
Let the games begin. Well, let's begin with a question that's ricocheting across school campuses, faculty lounges, parent group chats, and every corner of the internet where higher education gets debated. Ready for it, Mert? Why are so many college kids suddenly registering as disabled? And is some of it strategic? Now, that's a question that makes administrators squirm, professors sigh, parents whisper, and students split into camps. Some say it's overdue recognition of the rights of the disabled. Others call it an academic arms race, and a growing number of faculty quietly call it, for what they believe it is, gaming the system. Over the last decade, Mert, the numbers haven't just crept up, they've exploded, okay? What began as a push for inclusion under the Americans with Disabilities Act has morphed into something far more complicated, particularly at the country's most elite colleges. Now, we're talking to Mert about accommodations that can make meaningful changes in how you live and how you score in school. Extra time on exams, private or distraction-free testing rooms, priority housing, reduced course loads, attendance flexibility, assignment extensions, exemptions from certain requirements, and let's not forget parking privileges, right? These aren't small perks. They can be decisive and make a difference in one's college career. And as registration rates skyrocket, particularly for mental health-related conditions like ADHD, anxiety, depression, autism spectrum disorders, a debate has erupted. Here's the question. Is this genuine progress toward equity, or is this the system being exploited? What say you, Mert?
Well, there's a harsh reality out there that, a lot of people underestimate. A lot of time there's a lot of money just sitting out there for people with disabilities, but guess what? People with disabilities oftentimes have pride, and they don't take advantage of these systems in place. But regular people out there, no offense to people with disabilities by saying regular people, but people who shouldn't be taking advantage of these opportunities, well, they figure out a way to take advantage of some of these opportunities. And this is what you get. You get people who appear to be regular people. Now, all of a sudden, they have the luxury of getting a free parking spot because they can get a handicapped parking spot. Or they might get these concessions during a test, all that stuff you brought up. And you say, wait a minute, this person doesn't have a disability. But the person with the disability is sitting in the other classroom taking the test like all the normal students who don't have disabilities. And I'm saying it like that for a reason, because if we're going to say people with disabilities, then if you have a disability and you have a problem with me saying normal versus disability, then you are the problem, because instead of admitting and playing into the fact that you have a disability and taking advantage of these services, you allow normal people to take advantage of these services because they don't have a problem with being listed as somebody with a disability, because they say, hey, I get to park wherever I want to. You know how much I would enjoy to be able to get a disability, a parking disability sticker because I wear glasses. I'd be able to park anywhere in New York City.
Yeah, but
and
that's not a disability. Parking glasses because it's correctable. But if you went to a doctor and your doctor was to pick, for example, depression, if you suffer from depression or some mental issue, you would get a parking pass real easy. But let me ask you, Alex, as a disability advocate, do you take issue with Bert's use of the word normal? Because I think some people.
Well, I want to be careful how we label all this, because there are people with invisible disabilities. There is no doubt about it. However, I think everybody needs to be vetted. If they look quote unquote normal or able-bodied or whatnot, there should be extra vetting. Now, you're right on the mark there that, people with disabilities don't normally take advantage of this because of that pride or that sense of, if we're going to be
part of society.
We're not going to go for this, which is sad. But I want to make a point I made at this same time slot many years ago about trans-able community. This sort of falls in line with people that really are harming themselves to become disabled, and you make it tie the two together. Maybe that's why, because maybe they make themselves disabled, they can actually get the benefits, which is even sicker to me than someone with an invisible disability trying to get it. I mean, there are people out there cutting themselves apart to become disabled, maybe for the benefits. I never thought of it that way.
And you know what, Alex? You just said something very smart there. There's people out there who realize maybe being disabled can be an advantage over just being somebody who's a regular able-bodied person. See, if people with disabilities played into the fact that they have disabilities and started to look at themselves as, well, I'm showing the world that I'm special because even with this disability, I'm going to take advantage of the services, but I'm also going to thrive with the assistance of the government. It would go a long way into promoting people with disabilities from admitting that it's okay, or from accepting the fact that it's okay to accept help to make life a little bit easier for people with disabilities. And I think if we were able to, get this promoted into the subconscious of people with disabilities, you would not have room for a regular person to go into a doctor's office and say, I got headaches, and be able to get away with it, because they would have a full roster of people who really deserve these services who would be taking advantage of them.
How about the Medicaid fraud, right? I mean, I know we're going a little off course here, but it all stems together. There are people out there taking advantage of every system right now that may not qualify for it.
Yeah, the system certainly has its weaknesses, Mert, no question about it. But the point I wanted to make during this show was that, interestingly enough, the disability registrations are higher at the elite institutions. The more elite the institution, the higher the number of disabled students as opposed to public institutions. Something is terribly awry. For example, at Stanford University in fall of 2023, Stanford reported that 38% of undergraduates were registered with the Office of Accessible Education. That's nearly 4 in 10 students. 38%, Mert. It's the highest rate among major U.S. institutions. About 24% of undergraduates received actual accommodations during the fall quarter, meaning nearly a quarter of the student body had modified academic conditions. They're able to use the system, to game it. Harvard tells a similar story. In 2014, only 3% of undergraduates were registered as disabled. Last year, fast forward 10 years, that number had jumped to 21%, a 7-fold increase in a decade. Something is terribly wrong.
I'll say this. Just because you get good grades doesn't make you you're still a human being. So you have people who are very poor who take advantage of the government or take advantage of these types of systems that are in place for people with disabilities. And you'll have people at the very top of the educational system, straight A's, bright, going to these Ivy League institutions. They're going to operate just like the people at the very bottom, and they're going to take advantage where there's an advantage to be had. So I'm not surprised by this, because if you're smart, like I said earlier, if you're smart and you want to stand out a little bit, and there's room to stand out because people are waiting to, these institutions are waiting to accept somebody with a disability. That's the thing that we got to remember too. They're waiting to show everybody, hey, we care. Look, we have a bunch of people with disabilities and we're accepting, we're welcoming. But if the people with disabilities aren't going to accept it, there are people out there who will.
Well, how about this, Bert? Oh, sorry, I'll let you finish.
No, go ahead.
Well, how about this? The society now says, well, you can be whoever you want. You can feel however you want. What if there are people identifying as it just to get the benefits?
You can be whatever sex or gender you want, and you can be disabled if you want. But this is not good, because for what it does is diminishes the need for those that these laws were intended to benefit. If all of us, Mert, are disabled, because you just said a few minutes ago you would characterize yourself, if all of us are disabled, then aren't we harming those that the laws were originally intended to help?
No, because disabled people are choosing not to participate and go to these offices.
But that just does not justify able-bodied individuals.
No, it does, because these people...
Because listen, you know what's interesting about these statistics I just read? This jump up, a lot of these kids were not disabled in high school or lower education.
But you got to understand this.
They found God when they went to college.
Well, you got to understand this, though.
This is disgraceful. This is disgraceful.
You got to understand. It's a two-way street here. You have an institution or a government body who is setting aside money for these programs. They don't want to have these programs go unused, because if you're in office and you say, well, we treat our people with disabilities special, that goes in your favor. That makes you look like a better person. But if you don't have people with disabilities who are stepping up and taking these services, then you create a situation where, well, I'm going to meet you halfway. Okay, then I'm going to go all the way and I'm going to start encouraging people. Maybe you don't have, an extreme or a very visible disability, but we need to get these numbers up, because we got these programs and we want these programs to work so badly that, hey, if you can't sleep at night, come through. Maybe we can give you something, since we have all this money that's available. So you got to understand, it's a two-way street. You have institutions who want to help, and then you have the people who need the help not stepping up. So somebody is going to fill that void, and it might be somebody who wants to take advantage of the system, and they might can get away with it. So
now contrast this, Bert. Contrast this. Community colleges. Ready? Most community colleges report disability registration rates between 3 and 5%. The contrast is impossible to ignore, Mert. The more selective the school, the higher the disability registration rate. That to me suggests something dirty. Okay, that to me suggests that people are gaming the system. That to me is cheating. It's a form of cheating. And if they were not disabled in high school, or no history from childhood of any form of disability, you would think ADHD would be diagnosed much earlier than the late teens, early 20s. This kind of abuse should not be tolerated. Alex, there's got to be a better system, because otherwise the protections for the truly disabled.
Well, that's the other thing, is that you take these people in that may not be what would you say, the normal view of disability, or whatever you want to say, and then the actual ones that need the accommodations are left out in the cold. And that's even worse to me, is how do we have a system where people that actually need the services are left out of the cold, while someone who might have and I hate to say a bad back or something like that. I mean, there are things that I feel like are manageable without accommodations. Does that sound mean? Maybe I sound mean.
Let me say this. No, that's not accurate. You are not. People with disabilities are not left out in the cold, and it might be harsh to say this. It's that the way that people with disabilities think is they have a very perseverance type of mindset. They want to show the world that they can fit into society. They want to show the world they don't need help, and this puts you at a disadvantage from getting help.
Well, and that's no longer the mindset. That's true.
That is the mindset. That is the mindset.
It used to be that people would not find a sense of pride by calling themselves disabled. Now it is a badge of honor that is being abused. If you go to the airport, Bert, I've never seen so many disability dogs in my life. And these are pets. These are just pets that people are bringing to the cabin with them, and they use a disability as an excuse.
Well, hold up real quick.
And I mean, Alex was on the train, and he saw a petted disability animal earlier tonight. These abuses have to stop.
Let me get this out real quick. Your mischaracterization of the issue is showing right now, because the people who are wearing it as a badge of honor are the ones that I'm talking about, who are taking advantage of the system.
That's right.
People with actual disabilities are not wearing it with a badge of honor.
But now they should, because thank you for clarifying that, because now the whole perception has shifted. You get to board the aircraft first, so why wouldn't you want to take advantage of that, particularly if you're legitimately disabled? Come on, Alex, you have to chime in. You're the disability advocate, and you're letting Mert steal the show here.
Well, look, and I've seen it firsthand. She's still a friend of the show, even though things didn't work out. Gabby has dealt with this too. And people who do need the services and get them cannot make a certain amount of money either. So they're getting that raw end of the deal too, is that they can't even make a lot of money on these services. They have to make under $500, which I don't think is right either. So when these people get the services, there are still some downsides. However, I think what you guys are hitting at is, why aren't people with disabilities getting these programs more? And the answer is, and Mert, it took a long time for me to acknowledge I have one leg. Like, that was a long time in the making, but now it's kind of my brand. But that's because we don't want to be identified as disabled or known by our disability. We want to know by our mindset, our brain, our thoughts, our thinking. That's where it is. And maybe now's the time to say, all right, well, if we fought for the ADA in 1990, right, people climbed on the steps who were actually disabled, climbed on the steps of the Capitol to make it happen, then maybe we should take that same approach and get people with disabilities truly enrolled in colleges again.
You should have an apartment right now of your choosing in the nicest of building, but they have these types of things set aside for people just like Alex. But Alex doesn't take advantage of it because he doesn't want to feel like he's a drain on society, which is unfortunate, but this is a mindset that permeates.
But it lets the scammers take advantage of it. I don't understand your rationale. So you seem to say those that legitimately qualify are passing out of pride, right? But the scammers can take advantage of it. The scammers should be penalized, okay? The scammers should be denied accommodations. If you did not have a history of disability your entire school career, and all of a sudden you go into Harvard and you're disabled because no one should buy that nonsense.
No, they have a certain amount of money set aside because there are statistics out there that tell you how many people have disabilities, but the people with disabilities are not stepping up to the plate and taking advantage of it, so they have to fill these seats with somebody.
Excuse.
It's possible there's not enough awareness for kids leaving high school going to college. There may not be enough awareness of these programs because they don't talk about it on the mainstream news like we're talking about it right now.
Well, you know what? Wake up, rise up, and let's stop this nonsense. The rise in disability accommodation is real, dramatic, and you know what, Mert? It's reshaping education. At elite schools, the rates are about 30-40%. Mental health diagnosis going through the roof. And you know what? Is this progress? Yes, for students who genuinely need it, I'm all for it. But for gaming the system, that's not sustainable, and that should not be tolerated, okay? A system built to help a small minority is now serving a plurality, and that's my point. And if it becomes a majority, the entire education model may need a reset. Will one size need to fit all? Well, we'll have to wait and see. And that's the most unfortunate part of that story. But here, there's no waiting for this. But this is episode 90 of Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas Live. This is Lucas Ferrara with me in the studio. My great co-host, you heard from him, Mert Roberts. He's affectionately known as the Mertinator. You also heard from our great friend, Alex Garrett. He's engineering and producing tonight's show. He's got a great podcast, One Leg Up, with Alex Garrett. Please check it out. And in Master Control, our good friend, Armin Santos. Thank you for keeping us going. When we come back, we'll be joined by Diana Colleen. She's a Canadian, Seattle-based psychedelic facilitator and writer whose work explores consciousness, healing, and social change. She's got a book we'll be talking about. It's called They Could Be Saviors. Me, Mert, Alex, all of us at AM 970 will return after these quick messages. Don't go anywhere. After the break, Diana Colleen joins us, and she's going to talk about psychedelic healing, climate anxiety, and billionaire accountability. She's coming up next, and trust me, you'll want to hear it.
Over the last 30 years, Newman Ferrara, a New York City law firm, has evolved into a national practice focused on real estate, commercial, litigation, civil rights, class actions, and other complex litigation, representing many of the city's largest property owners, managing agents, and thousands of tenants. Newman Ferrara handles some of the nation's most significant class actions and civil rights matters. Newman Ferrara at 55 East 59th Street, New York City. Go online to newmanferrara.com. That's newmanferrara.com. Listen to the firm's name partner, Lucas Ferrara, every Saturday at 10 a.m. on Dottie Herman's longest-running real estate radio program, Eye on Real Estate, on AM 970. A real estate lawyer for 35 years, Lucas is a professor at New York Law School and is also a published author with books on real estate and New York's landlord-tenant law. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to hear Lucas's unique perspective and advice on Eye on Real Estate. Whether you're in the market for a Toyota truck for your fleet, business, or personal use, the one thing you're really looking for is the real deal. Enter ToyotaTRD.com, an online resource where you can get down to the real deal on upfitting a Tacoma and Tundra for the trades, a fleet, or any business. Get the real deal on Land Cruiser, 4Runner, Sequoia to power your non-work life on or off the road. At ToyotaTRD.com, business owners and fleet managers find the solution for all their commercial or work truck needs. ToyotaTRD.com shares your specs with dealerships that are able to have your truck set up a test drive or schedule delivery. Whether you work hard or play harder, you could accessorize any Toyota truck to fit your lifestyle at ToyotaTRD.com. Call 844-TRD-TOYOTA and use the promo code Joe to receive additional savings. That's 844-TRD-TOYOTA, promo code Joe to save with ToyotaTRD.com.
We love bringing you products that improve your life. Well, this product can save your life. There are approximately 5,000 choking deaths in the U.S. each year. One child dies every 5 days from choking. Did you know older adults are at an increased risk of choking? Yes. And lodged food is the main cause. Ever pop small, bite-sized foods in your mouth like peanuts, grapes, or popcorn? Those foods that people eat by the handful can get overloaded in the mouth, which can cause a choking episode. LifeVac is a simple rescue device that can change a life in a choking emergency. It's non-invasive and easy to use, and one kit fits the whole family. If you have a young child in your family or a senior relative living alone, I strongly recommend you visit the LifeVac website today at lifevac.net. View the videos demonstrating its ease of use. LifeVac works in 3 simple steps: place, push, and pull. The LifeVac device dislodges the obstruction and suctions out the food or object. It's that simple. And it can be self-administered. LifeVac.net, made in the USA and FDA registered.
Welcome back to Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas, live on AM 970, The Answer.
What's that one called, Alex?
It's called Psychedelic Space by Combo.
Ah, perfect. Next up, we're joined by Diana Colleen. She's a Canadian, Seattle-based psychedelic facilitator and writer whose work blends consciousness, healing, and social change. After profound transformation through psychedelic-assisted therapy, she developed a deep commitment to storytelling as a tool for challenging entrenched systems of power. Her work explores what humanity could become if empathy, contribution, and accountability replaced ego and competition. Through fiction, she examines the climate crisis, billionaire accountability, and their inner work required for meaningful change. Welcome to the program, Diana.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, it's great having you. You know, first I got to ask you the most obvious question, and I'm sorry for my ignorance, but what is a psychedelic facilitator?
So there's kind of two parts to psychedelic therapy. There's the therapy part, and then there's the psychedelic part. And some therapists are also psychedelic facilitators, and some psychedelic facilitators work with therapists. So in an overview of it is a different kind of therapy. It's not talk therapy. It's going inward using substances and learning things without necessarily having to talk about it.
Interesting. Now, on your website, which I visited, you say on the website that billionairism is a mental illness. Can you clarify that? Because I've never heard anyone say that before.
I'm hoping it catches on. So I see billionairism as an extreme form of hoarding. So we've all seen the show Hoarders.
I love that. It's hoarding. It's a form of hoarding. You know, I never thought of that, Diana. Go. That's great.
Yeah. So like with I say normal in quotation marks, normal hoarders. That their illness affects themselves and their families, but it doesn't usually spill out into society. But with billionaires, their hoarding affects every single person on the planet and the planet itself. So that's that's pretty scary, and I believe that mental illness can often be treated, and in this case, I believe it could be treated with psychedelic-assisted therapy.
Wow, so you think billionaires need therapy?
I do, absolutely.
And then do you think Elon Musk really needs a lot of therapy? Because he's probably going to be the world's first trillionaire. You know, if this keeps up, he's going to be a trillionaire. So if you're going to exacerbate the mental illness, talk about extreme mental illness. Of course, I'm teasing. But I guess you don't like Elon Musk?
Well, I've never met the man, so I can't tell you if I like him or not. I don't like what he does. And that's kind of how I feel about all billionaires, since I've never met one in person. But yeah, I don't believe what they're doing is good for humanity and the planet.
Go ahead, Mike, the Murdenator. Yeah. Be careful, Diana. Listen, it's the Murdenator.
So let me ask you
a question. Who could use some psychedelic therapy, if you ask me?
Well, let me ask you this. Would you charge a billionaire for therapy? Because that's an interesting dynamic. I mean, if you don't like them, but you're going to take the billionaire money, I mean, that could be a good deal if you're like, hey, every billionaire needs a therapist, I'll do it, and you become a billionaire yourself by giving them this therapy. So what would be your response to that? Because would you charge them, or would you do it out of the kindness of your heart to save a life?
To save the world.
Yeah, save the world. I'd do a barter system. I would say, I'll do this for you if you do this for me, and then I would come up with some kind of an arrangement of, I don't know, like if they cleaned up a certain tonnage of plastic out of the ocean, I might do some therapy for them.
Oh, wow. So you would do like a societal benefit. I thought maybe you would ask for like 20 Teslas and a robot.
Just don't go over, don't cross into the billionaire mark. Just keep it, just stay a millionaire and you'll be fine. But that's very interesting that you think billionaires could have a mental illness, because a lot of people, they rely, or they not rely, but they would trust the mindset of a billionaire, which is why certain politicians have as much influence and power as they do, because they say this guy's a successful businessman.
Right.
They must know what they're doing.
Right.
Right. That's what I want to reframe is how we actually look at billionairism. So for the, I don't know how long, when the first billionaire came into existence, but like since they have been in existence, people have always looked up to them as successful, and I want to reframe that, because I don't agree that unlimited wealth is success. I think it's immoral, and I wish that everyone would sort of start thinking of it that way.
Now,
well, let me ask a question before you get to the. Let me ask a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, if I have $10 million and I'm surrounded by people who are dirt poor, I might have the same persona as somebody who's a billionaire, because it might be that the way I feel about myself in comparison to people who are doing way worse financially than me, I could still feel the same way as a billionaire. So is there a certain aspect to this where it's not necessarily just billionaires? Anybody who has like that stand out, like a superstar or a great athlete or the smartest person,
right.
Could this apply to any of those types of people as well?
I think we kind of have to have a conversation about the word enough, right? So, like $10 million, yeah, that's a lot of money, but I don't think people really understand the difference between $1 million and $1 billion. So if money was time, 1 million seconds is 11 days. Do you have a guess as to how long 1 billion seconds is?
Well, I can't answer this because I already know the answer. But Lucas, you go ahead and try it. Lucas, you go ahead.
I give up. Go ahead. 31
it's
years.
32 years.
There you go. Yeah, that's right. I did the quick math.
So just think of that difference, right? Like, yes, 1 million is a lot. 10 million is a lot, but it's not even close to 1 billion. And so we need to discuss what is enough. And I believe that enough is when more stops adding to your well-being and starts subtracting from others. So I'm not against people having lots of money. I just don't want them to have so much money that they have like more power than elected officials, more power than any human being should have.
And what do you think would be the most noticeable change to society if what your beliefs are were implemented? And we don't have much time before we got to go to break, so if you get cut off, you could just finish on the other side. But what would be the most notable change to society?
I don't want to talk about redistribution of wealth, but I think that we would kind of go back to how America was pre-Reagan, when we were taxing the rich at a level that allowed for this country to have so much for the middle class.
Right.
And that's my goal, is to get back there.
So are you into wealth taxes? You're okay with wealth taxes, for example?
Absolutely, yes, for sure.
Nothing wrong with that, because how much do people like Elon Musk, does he really need $1 trillion when there's so much poverty and there are people homeless and there are people that are hungry? So there's something to be said about that.
Yeah. Like if I had $1 billion, and Seattle has a lot of unhoused people, and when I walk by those people, my heart aches. And if I had $1 billion, I couldn't just walk by them. And these billionaires are walking by these people on a daily basis and doing nothing about it. And that's just immoral to me.
There's something to be said about that, Diana. We have about a minute before we have to go to a commercial break. The name of your book is They Could Be Saviors. Savior is a very strong word. How do you mean it for purposes of this book?
So for me, the key word is actually could. It's not saviors. So these billionaires could be doing a lot more than they are. They could solve climate change. They could end poverty. They could do so much more with their money, and they're not. So that's the key word for me, not saviors. Yeah, saviors.
And you know what?
Is the key word.
We'll continue this, Diana, when we come back from the commercial break. Have no fear, Diana Colleen will be rejoining us after these quick commercial messages. For more about Diana and her work, visit DianaColleenAuthor.com. Diana, Colleen, author.com. You'll also find her book, They Could Be Saviors, on Amazon. Wherever our books are sold, we'll post links on our website. After the break, Diana Colleen is coming back. She's the author of They Could Be Saviors. When she returns, we're heading straight to the good part. No warm-up laps this time, so hurry up, come back. You don't want to miss it.
Over the last 30 years, Newman Ferrara, a New York City law firm, has evolved into a national practice focused on real estate, commercial, litigation, civil rights, class actions, and other complex litigation, representing many of the city's largest property owners, managing agents, and thousands of tenants. Newman Ferrara handles some of the nation's most significant class actions and civil rights matters. Newman Ferrara at 55 East 59th Street, New York City. Go online to NewmanFerrara.com. That's NewmanFerrara.com. Listen to the firm's name partner, Lucas Ferrara, every Saturday at 10 a.m. on Dottie Herman's longest-running real estate radio program, Eye on Real Estate, on AM 970. A real estate lawyer for 35 years, Lucas is a professor at New York Law School and is also a published author with books on real estate and New York's landlord-tenant law. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to hear Lucas's unique perspective and advice on Eye on Real Estate. MyPillow and MyPillow employees want to thank you for your great support this year. They want to make 2026 the best year ever. So to thank you, they are giving you free shipping on your entire order and wholesale pricing. For example, the classic MyPillows, regularly $49.98, now only $17.98. Turn any mattress into the best mattress ever with the made in the USA MyPillow My Mattress Topper and save up to $100. Get a set of MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets for as low as $29.98 and the 6-pack towel set for only $39.98. To get the best specials ever, go to MyPillow.com and use the promo code JOEP or call 800-651-0798. These offers won't last long, so call 800-651-0798 or go to MyPillow.com and use the promo code JOEP. To get the best specials ever, go to MyPillow.com and use the promo code JOEP or call 800-651-0798. Order now and your entire order ships absolutely free. What does the perfect celebration look like? Great weather, great company, and unforgettable views. Just imagine your birthday, anniversary, or company party set against the iconic New York City skyline. Sound too good to be true? It's not. When the weather warms up, there's no better place to celebrate than on board the Atlantis Yacht from New York Cruises. From intimate gatherings to full-scale corporate events, Atlantis Yacht is a premier floating venue offering a truly unique experience. Their dedicated team of hospitality professionals will help plan every detail so you can relax and enjoy the moment. Your guests will be wined and dined across the main deck, sky deck, and lounge deck, all featuring breathtaking 360-degree views of the Manhattan skyline. Birthdays, anniversaries, engagements, company parties, reunions, retirement celebrations. If there's a reason to celebrate, Atlantis Yacht is the place to do it. Call 212-633-1231 to book your unforgettable event today or visit NewYorkCruises.com.
Welcome back to Shake It Off with Mert and Lucas, live on AM 970, The Answer.
Diana Colleen is a Canadian, Seattle-based psychedelic facilitator and writer who somehow makes consciousness, climate anxiety, and billionaire accountability sound like a perfectly reasonable dinner table conversation. She's the rare storyteller who can explore power, ethics, and human transformation without ever reaching for her superhero cape. For more about Diana and her work, visit her website, DianaColleenAuthor.com. Diana, Colleen, Colleen, author.com. You'll find her book, They Could Be Saviors, on Amazon or wherever books are sold. And we'll post the links on our website, Diana, shakeitofflive.com. So, when you ended the last segment talking about how if you had $1 billion and you wouldn't just walk by the homeless, you would use your money to help and to intervene. So let me ask you then, it almost begs the question, do you think that billionaires are evil? Are they immoral? What is up with them?
Yeah, I think there is a difference between evil and immoral. And I think evil kind of brings up unhuman and unchangeable, whereas immoral means that you are human and you can change. So I want to say they're immoral. They are not evil. They're immoral.
And why fiction to address these very important issues? Why approach it that way? Is it more comfortable to the reader? Makes it less threatening? What was the underpinnings of the book and how your approach to these important concepts?
Yeah, I think story sticks with people more than like lectures and nonfiction. So nonfiction is very important, but I think for some things, if a story is tied to it, it really embeds itself into your brain. I mean, I remember books that I read when I was 10 years old, and they're still in my brain, but stuff I learned in college is completely gone. So I do believe that storytelling is very, very powerful, and it can warn us. That's what a lot of dystopian fiction does. It kind of warns us about what could happen if we continue down the path that we're going down. But I also think that too much of that, like the fear that a lot of storytellers use, is kind of making society fatalistic. And I want to bring hope to the world. So this book is actually very hopeful. It's still full of conflict and tension. It's not boring, but it's hopeful. And I think the world just needs a lot more hope.
Well, let's talk about climate change, because many people are concerned about climate change. Is it behavioral or not? Is it due to behavior, or do you see there's something else going on here?
Well, the Earth definitely has cycles, and I think a lot of climate deniers like to look at that and go, well, it's just the Earth doing its thing. But there's plenty of data that shows that since humans have been around, especially in the past, 100 years, that emissions are spiking, and we can see exactly what humans are contributing to the climate. And even if we fix what humans are doing, yes, the Earth is still going to have a cycle. Humans are not going to be here forever, but I believe that we should be doing all that we can to lengthen the time that humanity has on the planet. So yes and no.
How do we do that, Diana? Is there an easy answer, or is it really complicated?
There actually is an easy answer, and it's in my book. I think that we need to the narrative around climate change is asking 8 billion people to change their behaviors. We're asking people to take shorter showers, drive less, don't use plastic straws, reusable shopping bags, all these things. Yes, they're wonderful. Let's do that. But I don't think that we should be making people feel bad that they're going on vacation with their family because of, all the emissions from the airplane. If we asked roughly 3,200 people globally, that's roughly the number of billionaires on the planet. If we not ask, we need to tell them that they need to change their behaviors. So changing the behavior of 3,200 people is way easier than changing the behavior of 8 billion people. And the richest 1% emit more carbon than 5 billion people combined. How is that fair?
Whoa, that's an amazing stat. So the billionaires are the ones generating all that waste, carbon emissions?
Yeah, I mean, just one private jet alone is more carbon than 5,000 people's daily life for a year. So just their jet, that's not all the other stuff they're doing. And plus, it's also the billionaires who are making the decisions about what we, the consumer, have available. So we're being told, don't use single-use plastics, but we're not telling them, hey, you have to stop making single-use plastics. There are alternatives that are not being funded because of money. And we need to force people to fund these alternatives that are better for the planet.
Now, I think, or I read somewhere, that you have an issue with space tourism and the billions of dollars that the billionaires are throwing into space tourism. What is the problem?
Absolutely.
What is the problem there?
Well, there's a couple of them. I mean, the emissions alone from their rockets is, I don't have the stats on that, but it's insane. Just the one rocket going into space, what it does to the environment, not to mention like everything that's going into creating these things. So I don't know how many billionaires have gone into space, like three or four. They're all working separately on the same project. And if we took all the billions and billions of dollars that those people have put into space exploration because they think that we're going to colonize Mars when this planet dies. Well, this planet isn't dead. This planet has amazing resources. Mars has no resources. So why are we not taking those billions and billions of dollars to fix this planet first?
Amen. Well, we only have a few minutes left, and Mert wants to ask you the last question, Diana.
Yeah, the last question the last question I'd like to ask is: do you think that if we incentivize them to still run up all these carbon emissions, but try to figure out a way to profit off a solution, do you think that'd be more effective than trying to shame them for having private jets? What if we incentivize them to come up with a solution to profit off of all this carbon that they're
so
using?
Appeal to their mental illness is what he's saying, Diana.
Yeah, or would you be against that?
I would hope that we could do it a different way. But I mean, obviously money speaks to these people, and if they haven't gone through psychedelic assisted therapy yet, that might be the only way. I hope it's not, but yeah, I mean, that's why they do everything. They do it for money, they do it for power. If they don't see that something is going to give them more of one of those two things, they're not going to do it. So we have to make it so that they see that they need to do it. But that comes back to the psychedelic part. Is I believe that humanity is suffering from disconnection, and billionaires especially are disconnected from themselves. They're disconnected from humanity, and they're disconnected from nature. And if they could be connected to those things, everything would be different. They would be doing everything differently.
Hey, Diana, we only have a minute left. What do you hope listeners take away from your book, They Could Be Saviors?
Hope that it really wouldn't take that much to make a big change. I think people are really afraid of the future, but I believe that we can actually make a difference, and we can fix it.
Amen. Unfortunately, Diana, we've run out of time. For more info about Diana Colleen and her work, please visit her website, Diana Colleen Author. That's Diana, Colleen, author.com. You'll find her book, They Could Be Saviors, on Amazon or wherever books are sold. We'll post links on our website. Check it off live. Thanks for coming on the program, Diana. Hope you had fun.
Thank you so much. I really did. Enjoy your evening.
Bye-bye now. Well, my friends, that concludes show number 90. May I hear an amen? Alex, what happened to the studio audience? Did you replace them? What happened? Special thanks to the Murdinator, Mert Roberts, for 180 hours of live entertainment. You're amazing, Mert. Alex finally came in with the studio audience. Thanks. We couldn't have done the show without Alex Garrett. Check out his podcast, One Leg Up with Alex Garrett. Ermine Santos, Working Master Control. We appreciate you, and to everyone else behind the scenes at AM 970. Laura Schaefer, Matthew Samble, and Joseph Villa, Frank Volpe, Ryan Pagano. Oh, there's so many. Our thanks. Before we go, I'd like you to check out my movies. My latest hit, Manor of Darkness. It's an eerie time loop horror. You'll find it on Amazon, Google Play, YouTube. Check it out. The New York Times loves it. And if you're listening to us live, Culinary Confidential, Christina Cates is next. You must not miss it. It's one of my favorite shows. I love it. Join us next week. We'll have more controversial topics, more special guests just for you. Same time, same place. Ciao, ciao.
The preceding program is sponsored by Shake It Off Live, LLC.
In times like these, we all need a word of encouragement. From pastor and best-selling author Max Lucado comes the Max Lucado Encouraging Word podcast. With over 40 years of ministry and more than 145 million books sold in 50 languages, Max shares the greatest story ever told, the living Savior who brings hope for a lifetime. Through rich biblical insight, heartfelt storytelling, you'll be reminded that God is always near, always for you, and always in you. Listen to the Max Lucado Encouraging Word podcast, where hope meets your day. Subscribe now wherever you get your podcasts.